Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Shailesh P. Rao, Vice President, Sales and Marketing, Wockhard Limited. Sir has graduated in Bachelor's of Pharmacy from the University of Pune and has done his Master of Management Studies from University of Bombay. Sir has been university rank holder in all 4 years of graduation as well as his post-graduation. Sir has professional experience of 18 plus years in sales and marketing in global brands like Abbott India Limited, Sanofi Aventis Limited, MSG Fulford India Limited, MSG Limited Asia Pacific, MCure Pharmaceuticals, to name a few. Sir is currently holding position in Wockhard Limited as a Vice President in Sales and Marketing for specialties in diabetes, cardiology, and nephrology. Sir is a result-oriented professional with a proven track record in adding significant value to the growth of organization he has worked with. Sir, now I kindly request you to please share your piece of wisdom and knowledge and enlighten our young aspiring student manager. Sir, the floor is yours.
Is this mine? I hope I'm audible. Okay. My dear friends, young friends here, it honestly gives me a lot of happiness, pleasure, privilege to be here amongst all of you on a nice Saturday morning. Having been invited to address all of you on the pharmaceutical industry and the marketing practices that we follow. Now, before I go into my presentation, I wanted to actually have 3 points that was in my mind at the outset. First of all, I want to thank my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Hemendra Singh, for actually having invited me over to be a part of this business summit. I've known Dr. Singh for the last 1 year when I was here last year in Pune for a very brief while when I had taken up an assignment and obviously had to go back to Bombay because things didn't work out, which always happens in corporate life. But the way we met up was very, very interesting, and I would like to spend a minute on it. Dr. Singh is a very avid walker, and he has, I think, a very big dog. I think it's a Great Dane. And I am quite an avid jogger as well. So it happened on one of those days when we were living in our society that we happened to cross each other, but we didn't even wish each other, but his dog was set up on me. And I had to give one of the worst stern glances at Dr. Singh, and I said, mind that dog and put it on a leash. He said, I'm sorry, sir. Little did I know that that first interaction with Dr. Singh would actually mature into a kind of a very warm and enduring friendship over the last 1 year, and that's why I'm here. Second reason why I'm here, and it's really, and I'll be very, very honest with you, is that although I've been born, brought up, and raised in Bombay, I belong to a very devout, conventional South Indian Andhra Brahminical family. Okay? So you don't have to clap for that. I have not even completed. The fact is that anything got to do with Balaji and Venkateshwara assumes serious significance in my household. Okay? So, and I can tell you that it starts off at 5:30 in the morning with the Suprabhatam and actually ends in the night when we finish off our prayers. So when the invite came to me from Colonel Balasubramaniam, my 75-year-old mom actually started ventilating and said, Balaji, you must go for it. So I said, listen, mom, I know, let's discuss this. I know it's Balaji, we should go for it. There is Colonel Singh, so let's see how we can work a win-win situation. So I'm here not only for Lord Balaji, but I'm also here for Colonel Balasubramaniam, right? And third and most important reason why I'm here is because I love talking to students. I go back to my alma mater. I am a very proud student of Wellinkers in Bombay. I'm sure you know of Wellinkar Institute of Management, passed out in '94. It was not so popular and not so highly ranked at our times, I can tell you that. But the work done by the dean, Uday Salunke, has really pushed it forward. So I give a lot of guest lectures, but I can tell you this is the first time I'm actually standing on a platform being addressed, addressing all of you here. So without much ado, I don't know if we need to probably switch off these lights, right? Before I get into my presentation, I must tell all of you, my dear friends, I come from an industry, okay, which actually unfortunately or fortunately, has two tags attached to it. The pharmaceutical industry, or what is called as the life sciences industry, is one of the least glamorous industries in India. That's for sure. It doesn't have any glamour whatsoever, like consulting companies like the McKinseys and the Accentures of the world. It doesn't have any glamour like the financial services. It doesn't have any glamour like the Lehman Brothers, the Deloitte and Touche. It doesn't have any glamour like the FMCG companies, for sure, like the Livers, the P&Gs, and so on and so forth. And it surely doesn't have, the glamour and the glitz associated which you have with, with other kind of industries like retail, etc. And the second unfortunate part is that we make more money when people fall sick. Right? It's so sad that when more people fall sick in this country due to chronic ailments like diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, which are silently killing this nation and the productive work population, you must understand that it is such an immense health burden, not only in the government of India, but on the pharmaceutical industry, the allied industry, that is the hospitals industry, to actually take care of all those sick and suffering in this country who are either covered or not covered by insurance. So when Colonel Singh asked me, why don't you share your thoughts on the pharmaceutical industry and what do you think about pharma marketing, I decided to give it a little bit of a flip. And the flip is, I wanted to share my thoughts with you today as to what actually differentiates the pharma marketing from the other forms of marketing like FMCG marketing, so on and so forth. Fair enough? Yeah? So that's the way I thought I would structure my presentation for today. So moving forward, if you see my first slide, this is what happens, the industry does. Right from the time you're born till the time you leave the world, you are associated with pharmaceutical industry and its products. If you see here, from 0 to 4, when you were a toddler, you were definitely taken care of by the pediatrician, who put you and pumped you with vaccines, yes or no? Yeah, with a lot of amoxicillin, the cough and the cold. You moved forward from 4 to 12, you had nice vitamin drops. मेरा बेटा और लंबा होना चाहिए, मेरी लड़की और मेरी बेटी और लंबी होनी चाहिए, बुद्धिमान होनी चाहिए. Then comes the adolescent age or the teenager generation. You want to look slim, you want to look smart, you want to look appealing. So even if you're slim, you still want to go on to diet supplements. Okay? Then you move on to the middle age, or even, in fact, even better is 18 to 24, when you're really at crossroads and you want to take some other kind of medication for boosting your immunity, for looking really good, Moving on, obviously, at this stage of 24 to 38, many people get depressed in life, so they're on to antidepressants. Luckily, I crossed the hurdle. I'm 42. Right? So here you have Prozac, and 38 to 65, I don't need to say what the blue pill is, do I? Nobody. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you're 65 plus, no offense to any senior person in this audience, you're popping as many as 10 to 12 pills a day to keep alive. Sad, but extremely pertinent and true that the industry touches the lives of people right from the time you take birth to the time you actually have to leave this world. So moving forward, I have a very interesting cartoon from Dilbert. How many of you read Dilbert by Scott Adams? I see very few hands. Okay. So if Dilbert, here you have a patient and a doctor, and the doctor is telling, my dear friend, you're very healthy but I have to still give you a prescription for a toxikill. A toxikill is a toxoid. So the patient is wondering why. And then the doctor says, you know what? The drug company's lady rep is really hot, okay? And she wants me to take me for lunch if I sell enough of this stuff to you. And what does the patient say? I hope there are no side effects, to which the doctor says, depends on what I eat. So here is a much maligned industry. And unfortunately, that's the way it works. How many of you saw the episode of Satyameva Jayate by Amir Khan? All of you have seen that. Right? The episode which caused so much amount of consultation, so much amount of heartburn amongst doctors, and I personally deal with doctors, physicians, cardiologists, diabetologists on a day in, day out basis, and they were up in arms And I could tell you, I can honestly tell you that if they had to lay their hands physically on the superstar, they would have had that. But there is no running away from the fact that the industry has been much maligned for its marketing practices, and honestly, there are issues of gray areas of interpretation where you have ethical marketing issues which are actually causing a lot of problems in our industry. And it is because of these ethical marketing issues that you have the government of India now becoming stricter and stricter with the regulations. And that is the reason why when you do not behave properly as children, you are governed by your parents. When you are not behaving good as students and indisciplined in not coming back after a 10-minute break, the armed soldier has to crack the whip. It's the same thing for our industry. When you don't behave well, you have the watchdog, that's the government of India, who is actually the regulatory body, authority, the apex authority, which governs the marketing, ethical marketing practices that the industry has. So, what is the pharma business all about? And here is something that I want to touch upon. When you get paid for stuff, you know, you want to do a Kisan ka aata, you want to do, sign any kind of stuff, you're basically dealing with commodities. You're doing commodities exchange, right? When you get paid for physical products, you deal with goods, right or wrong? I'm not hearing you guys. Yeah? You can be perfectly fine to disagree. Huh? I encourage disagreement. And I'll leave behind some messages how corporate organizations actually encourage disagreement, which is healthy for the growth of the organization. So when you get paid, I'm so sorry for this. So when you get paid for your actions, you deal in services. You deal in services. When you get paid for the time you spend with your customer, you deal with experiences. So please understand, at this point of time, you can choose to be anything. You want to be a marketeer of goods, you want to be a marketeer of commodities, you want to be a marketeer of services, you want to be a marketeer of experiences. For example, Mahindra Holidays. Share time is a classical example of really defining the niche of holiday experience for families, right? And the last is when you get paid for distinguished results for your clients, you result in what is called as transformations. My dear friends, it's very important to realize that each of these are actually enmeshed amongst each other, and therefore an organization can grow and thrive when it believes truly in serving its customers, both internal as well as external customers, and ultimately cause what is called as creating experiences and transformation. And therefore, when you look at our industry, we do a lot of things. We deal in all kinds of pharmaceutical products that touch your daily lives. You can pop the pill, which is a pill given by the compounder in a general practitioner area. So if somebody was staying in Pashan or in Balewadi, or for example in Baner or in any other area of Pune, and he has a cough and a cold, he would not rush to a super specialty hospital, would he? Whom would he go to? The local next door general practitioner, yes or no? That general practitioner will look nice, he will have a good compounder, the compounder will give you a packet of blue and orange and green pills, yes or no? Those are generics. You don't know the name, he also doesn't know the name. It's a fact. Because the pharma company medical representative told him, he stock my products and sell it when these kind of indications come, and he gives you that powder, he makes you all that kind of stuff and sells it to you, and you become all right in 3 to 4 days time. There is another set of doctors who actually prescribe brand names on your prescription, which you go to the retail pharmacy or the chemist, get that prescription rewarded, and then you continue taking those products. You have specialty products, you have professional training. How many of you even understand the importance of nurses in our whole system, healthcare system? Have you ever looked at nurses? Bow to them in salute, because if nurses were not there, doctors would not exist. Because they are perhaps the most important paramedical staff that are available in our country, which actually touch patients' lives much more than a physician does, and even much more than the pharmaceutical industry does. But the unfortunate part is nobody gives them a damn. Because their job is to look after patients and sick patients all the time. But there are a lot of companies, including mine, which invest a lot in nurses training. I'm proud to be a part of the organization which not only deals with medicines, but I'm sure you heard of Wockhard hospitals. And that is the most respected and one of the most respected hospital chain in the country, along with the likes of Apollo and Fortis. And truly, when we do work partnering with nurses and taking care of sick patients, it is seen to be believed. It is seen to be believed. So this is a very important part that we do, and we provide support to patients as well. Please understand, there is a difference that I'll come upon when I talk to you about how patients today are different and they're smarter marketeers than doctors themselves. So the industry then believes, are we capable of doing everything? And the question that arises is, and you must always ask yourself, is, who is my customer? Who is my customer? Right? Now, when I'm in the pharmaceutical industry, I have two customers. One is obviously the physician or the doctor who has to be made to prescribe my company product and not the other X or the Y or the Z product. And the second customer, very important, can you guess who it is? The patients. The patients. Because the patients are those who actually consume your product and will decide whether they want to continue taking your product over a lifetime, or they will make the physician change the prescription so that they feel much better with some other product. So you can understand that in our industry, marketing is very, very complex. It's not like an FMCG where I have a nice jingle. I know there's a lot of work done and a lot of healthy respect I have for FMCG marketers, where they do a lot of analysis, like us. We do a lot of data crunching. We do a lot of data mining. None of the decisions under me, I had a team of 650 people in my company, including the commercial operations. No decision on any investment or any resource allocation on any marketing budget spent for any activity on the market or the customer is approved by me unless there is rigor, okay, in the analysis. So my dear friends, when you learn the tools in marketing, especially the Kotler's model of segmentation and targeting, brand positioning, the 5 P's of the product market mix, customer segmentation and variables, okay? And when you learn more importantly about how does a market actually behave, market research techniques, as I'm talking about, like multi-dimensional scaling, we're talking about perceptual mapping, we use this on a day in, day out basis. Please realize, crores of rupees of budget allocation of organizations are at stake when you've got to take decisions on investments related to customers. So my first message or mantra to you is, be attentive in your classes on marketing. Because that's not theory, because at some point of time, you will have to utilize those theoretical frameworks for your jobs. And you do not have a choice, my dear friends. You do not have a choice. Because if you want to major in marketing, you want to major in strategy, and you want to drive what I call as operational execution excellence in whichever industry you're in, you will have to master and grapple the theoretical frameworks that marketing textbooks provide in this very hallowed institution. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is extremely important. So have fun in these 2 years for sure, but also believe in having great learning. Okay? So here is my message to you. At the same time, try and realize, what value do I bring to my company? What value do I bring to the customer? Why should somebody buy my product? Today when I go to the E-Zone, or I stay in Bombay where Chroma store is right next below me, everybody was offering the independent sale rebates and discounts. All of you saw that in the press? Chroma, E-Zone, everybody, big bazaar sale, etc. So much of hyperventilated marketing efforts being driven at you and me, the single point customer, then what makes you decide that a Samsung flat-end television is better than an LG? Although technologically they both are world class. What makes you decide that you don't want to buy a Sony, but you want to buy a Samsung? Brand equity, the quality, the imagery, the services, the after-sales services. It's the same thing for cars. It's the same thing for soaps. My dear friends, realize in our day-to-day lives, we are having touch points with our customers on an ongoing basis. So there is no connect here, there's a disconnect there. It doesn't exist. It is an overall 360-degree, visually engaging experience that a customer lives in and day out. Okay? You must read books which clearly understand the psychographic profile of customers. As human beings, we have slots in our minds. So if I were to ask somebody, for example, anybody here, tell me the top 3 brands of toothpaste that come to your mind. Can you have a shot at it without even having to think? Fast. I can't hear you. Right. Very good. Give me top 3 examples of hand sanitizers. Very good. Why does this happen? This happens because brand recall. And how did that brand recall happen? Because of continuous usage and experience of the product, which has resulted in a sustainable experience over a period of time. So when you have a headache after having too many drinks, what do college students do, which I did? I will rush for a Dispirin, Anacin. When I feel feverish, I will go for a Crocin. So pharmaceutical brands are no way different from an FMCG brand or a car brand. So our efforts in the industry are being driven not through direct promotion to the customer. Do you ever see prescription products being advertised on television? Unlike the US, where you're free to advertise over the television and talk directly to the customer that if you had erectile dysfunction, do consider asking your physician to maybe prescribe Viagra for you. Doesn't allow it because the regulations in this country don't allow us to directly reach the patient. So we reach the doctor. The doctor gets convinced or not convinced. And how do we reach the doctor? Through the medical reps, whom we employ in thousands and thousands, who are BSc, B.Pharm graduates, and they decide to make a choice in pharmaceutical selling as their life's mission. As their life's mission, right? So moving on, you know, this is how a company would actually operate. This is how all pharmaceutical companies operate. It's a little, and I'll read out this slide for you. The traditional model is company employs sales reps. Sales reps influences the doctor. Doctor prescribes the product to the patient. Patient goes to the pharmacy either in the hospital or in the neighborhood. He buys the medicine. And once the chemist runs out of stocks, he gets replenished by, you know, the distributor and the C&F, that is clearing and forwarding agent, who is company appointed distributors who keep selling the product to the chemists. This has been the traditional model for the last 150 years and continues and will not change much. So people like you, people like youngsters who want to join the industry, they generally come in here as sales reps because it's very mandatory for them to get a selling experience. Please realize, my dear friends, you cannot aspire to become a marketeer, which is so-called glamorous role, without even understanding the basic selling process in the industry. Are you all with me? You have to understand. So if you want to make a career in FMCG, like Hindustan Liver Limited or Procter & Gamble, you will have to work as a traveling salesman for the first 2 years. They will put you into markets like Darbhanga in Bihar, Leheria Sarai, and I'm not joking. This is damn serious stuff that I'm talking about. They will put you in Kadalur in Tamil Nadu, and they will make you backpack a traveling salesman cycle to actually, you know, feel how soaps are sold to the customer. ITC has some of the strongest training models in the industry, where they put graduates like you through the mill and through the grind. There is no shortcut to success. So you've got to understand the selling process. Because very often when we pass out of management institutes, and the dipstick survey that's so wonderfully done by Colonel Bala showed every one of us believes that we want 7 lakhs and 10 lakhs. The industry doesn't pay you that much, my dear friends, because I will ask you as an interviewer, what is it that you have in you? And what is it that you can add value to my organization that I may want to even consider paying you 5 to 6 lakhs? Okay? It's not easy. Compensation is a function of experience, skills, and competencies. All the three. It doesn't matter. You may be even the A-grade lister, but can you make a sales call? Can you sell anything? As they say, can you sell a comb to a bald guy? If you can sell a comb to a bald guy, you're probably one of the world's finest salesmen. So try and understand that you've got to understand the basic processes. And the earlier speaker wonderfully alluded that don't focus on the end result. Focus on the process. And in my industry, especially people who work with me and my teams, dread because I, as a marketeer, get into first the processes and not the results. Because if you follow the processes right, you will get the right results. The outcomes have to be right. So please understand, there is no career without understanding the basic processes. Moving on. You can't be all to all people. Now when you look at luxury car brands, BMW cannot be the same as Mercedes-Benz, which cannot be the same as Audi. Can it be? Each one is different. Ask for yourself, what is a BMW customer? A BMW customer is one who likes sportiness. Young, 35 to 40 years of age, likes speed, wants to drive at 160 on the expressway and make it to Bombay in 1 hour and 45 minutes flat without a break. So he buys an X1 or an X3 and he's done for good. Audi, and the GM for Audi is a very dear friend of mine for last about 2 years now. You know, he's been trying to sell very heavily the Q series to me, but I said I can't afford your car. He's selling me, try the Audi. And after 6 months, he made me test drive the Audi. And I can tell you that in terms of Tektronix, that's in terms of technology, there is no better car in that segment that beats the Audi. Audi beats everybody hands down. So what is the USP or what is the value proposition that Audi offers to its customers? Technology. BMW, sportiness with the rustic build. But if I am gray-haired, I am 52, made success in life, and I want to be relaxed and seen as a corporate high social ladder, I would prefer the Mercedes-Benz, and that too chauffeur-driven, because when I get out of the E-class, people would say, the man has arrived. Whereas you will not find drivers driving BMW and Audi. The owner drives those cars themselves. So please understand, marketing is about understanding the aspiration that the customer wants, and you as an organization having a marketing program to meet that aspiration. So if I wanted my product in the pharma industry to be written by the physician asks me day in and day out and says, Shailesh, why should I write your product? I should write your product because does it give benefits to my patients? Will it prolong life? I'll say yes. By how much percent? By 32%. Over what? Over the conventional today available drugs. Okay, great. Will it help prevent further complications? I'll say yes. Okay, then I will write your product. He's not going to write for me because I'll say, you know what? I'll sponsor your trip to the next international conference in San Francisco. He may not even want to look at me. This is the reality of life, my dear friends. Marketing is difficult, but you have to understand what you mean to each and every customer. The new model, and this is what the whole agenda is about. The new model of pharmaceutical marketing is basically this. The company still reaches the doctor, but it is no longer only through the sales rep. There are various channels like the social media, the web portals, laptops, iPads being used in our industry. Today, if you open the net, you will see a lot of blogs. All of you understand blogs? Yeah, blogging is very common, Twitter and all of that. You will be surprised, and we did this analysis in my company, 17% of global blogs in the world are originating from India, patient blogs. 17%. Today, patients and customers are very, very alert. I have my relatives in the US who come to India and they see the prescription of my other relatives here and they say, you know what? Maybe your physician is not treating you well enough. Why don't you go to your physician and demand that he prescribes this product for you because, you know, this thing would probably work for you. So the patient is more empowered. The patient is no longer a gullible guy who's just going to listen to the doctor and says, you know, wo to Bhagavan hai, wo God hai, so whatever he says, I have to write. This is the reason why it's very important to understand who are your stakeholders. So the stakeholders are very important. And that's the message number 5 that I have for you, stakeholder management. Is it the government? Is it the regulatory agencies? Is it the internal customer? Is it the external customer? Please realize each one of them plays a role. Do you believe that the chemist who is in your nearby area is important for us? Why is he important? One person to answer. All of you have gone to a chemist shop? I'm sure you would have gone. I mean, not only for medicine, but to buy a soap or to buy a toothbrush or whatever. Any one person can tell me, is a chemist important? Yes.
It's important because if he's not carrying your medicine, it will not be in the reach of the customers.
Why did we give her a big hand for that? Very simple, right? Very simple truth. You know, many people will say, oh, come on, that's a no-brainer. But unfortunately, life is about no-brainers. You know, we miss the basics. हम बड़े-बड़े बात करते हैं. You know, we talk about strategy, we talk about all big things. And I ask very common questions. Have you done your grassroots level execution properly? Have you first of all made your product available at the chemist counter? Because if your product was not available and the patient came with the brand, he would not get your brand. And you know what will happen? Double impact. The physician will not stop writing your product. He will say, my prescription has been not honored, so I'm not writing. So understand, marketing is not strategy. Marketing is about execution. It's not alone strategy. It's about execution. Getting your things right. Okay. I derive, and I don't know how many of you have read this book called Blue Ocean Strategy. Have you heard of this word called Blue Ocean? How many of you have heard the word? Very good. Who are the authors? Tell me, all of you have read these books. Who are the authors? Sorry, nobody? See that? Somebody said something I heard. What is that? Kim and Mayborn. Which institute do they come from? No, wrong. If you have read the book, you will never say Harvard. They come from the INSEAD Business School in Paris, which is one of the top 10 business schools in the world. Kim and Mayborn have done extensive work on blue oceans, that is creating new oceans, uncontested market space, driving what is called the concept of value innovation. Please realize, in your field as marketeers, whether you're in the financial services or in FMCG, you will have to give value to the customer and you will have to be innovative. You will have to be different, but not for the sake of being different, but really bringing value to the endpoint customer. So here is another cartoon that I have from the US Journal of Marketing, which says this poor patient is completely bewildered. He has a multi-dispenser here, which has all kinds of pills. One for obesity, one for depression, one for everything. What do you think he will do? He would go to the pub and buy a lager beer for himself. So this is the whole concept. You can't confuse the customer. You can't be the same everything to everybody. Choose a point. Your definition has to be like a laser beam and you drive that. Next, did I talk to you about new paradigms? I did. The new paradigms of pharma marketing are not only the old times where the rep met the doctor, but you have today new tools like iPad, where you want to engage and relate with customers, and you also want to collaborate with customers. My dear friends, in my last 19 or 20 years of industry experience, what I have seen, doctors don't write products only because they are good for the patients. Doctors write products because if they like you and you're sincere in your efforts, most of the time they will write. Selling the pill, as they call the medicine, is only 20% of the job of marketeers. The 80% is the value experience. How do I take care of his patients? Do I have a toll-free helpline in Gurgaon or in Coimbatore, 24/7, which can give call-outs and track patients across the country and provide them medicines at their doorstep free of cost? We do this. And many companies do this. Because the fact is the customer has become very choosy. Patient is the God. So today it's not just the physician, it's also patient who is the God. Next, look at the impact of social media. This slide was put up by my marketing head, and I also didn't know that there are so many of the social media sites in the world. I only knew LinkedIn, I knew Twitter, I knew Flickr, and I knew probably Facebook, which is the most visible social website. Is this too much? Is this too much? It is. This is a clutter. It's a clutter. 90% of the names I don't even know. So how are you going to leverage the power of social media even if you don't know which media is going to give you the results? Point? So you got to know your customer, you got to know your media. Wow. What happened? Did I touch off something? And now is it okay? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Are you guys getting bored? No, sure. But I can tell you I'm very observant. Huh? I've seen some eyes close, and I've seen 5 guys in this audience whose eyes have closed and have not opened for the last, at least I think, 14 minutes. I deal with numbers and budgets every day, so I can keep a track of everything. Yeah? So probably if I need to give you a wake-up call, I will do that. Okay, so this is the impact that social media has on our lives. Don't be a Facebook guy for the sake of being a Facebook. You want to be seen, my birthday, my dog's first birthday, you know, my girlfriend presented me with a card. That's fine. That's good. Youngster, young generation. And I don't call myself Gen X, I call Gen Y. Right? So I'm clearly a Gen Y guy. So have the impact assessed, you know. And what's more important, and I'll skip a couple of slides, is when you do this, please focus on these points. Accountability. Guys, be serious with the job. You don't have to be serious with yourself. But when you work in organizations, remember you will be held not only accountable, you will be responsible being a part of the team. So God forbid, if you had a boss who was very, very choosy about what you did. I'll tell you, I'm very fortunate. I worked under very tough, demanding bosses who made my life miserable for the first 15 years of my life. बहुत मारा मेरे को, बहुत. They tore me apart. But you know what? It's done well. Because today my fundamentals and my basics and understanding of the marketing process in the pharma industry would probably not have stood in good stead if I was not, you know, taken to the cleaners by my bosses. I know that you and I don't have a choice in deciding a boss, but if you get a tough boss to work under, be grateful to God, because your learning curve will be much higher than the others in the industry. From what is important and what we see here is this shift in marketing. And that's probably what I alluded to. We don't sell products anymore. So we don't sell a Crocin. We don't sell an Anacin anymore. Or we don't sell only a Viagra. We sell the patient experience. But my dear friends, this is something that I want you to learn, not from a marketing standpoint, but from a, you know, a ethical and a personal career standpoint. Listen more than you talk. In marketing, listen. Now I'm talking because I've been asked to talk. But marketers are good listeners. They have the ears to the ground. They have the ears to the ground. They are transparent. Have you seen the insurance ad of, which is that company? Max Life, you know, where there is that spoof thing which is encouraging the agent to make false promises. But he says, no, I'll be transparent. So that's transparency. Never oversell. Never oversell yourself in your resume, because we experienced people in organizations can spot what are the overselling that you guys do. So don't oversell. Be personal. Have the connect with the customer, with your, with your people, and be authentic. Be genuine. So these are the more important points that I wanted to share with you. And my earlier speaker spoke about co-creation in healthcare. Very important, my dear friends. Co-creation, collaboration is the norm of the day. When you join organizations, marketing is not a singular effort. मैंने किया है, हमने किया है. You will be a part of a team. Those students here who cannot be good team players, watch out. A red flag will be raised in the companies. It's all about teamwork, team building, and achieving results in the team framework. So do that. Always have what I call as the key customer focus. Never lose focus on the customer. Never lose focus. I have interviewed youngsters like you, and I asked them, why do you want to make a career in marketing? Sir, I want to make a career in marketing because I can stay in the best 5-star hotels. I can travel by flight. Look at the aspiration, not wrong. Sir, it's a very glamorous job. I think I'm suited for marketing. How do you think you're suited for marketing, my dear friend? Sir, I have this unique strategic ability. Oh, really? You've not even tested it. So be genuine. Don't oversell yourself, but at the same time, be very grounded and honest. Okay? That's very important. So when you do this, and what I was talking about, collaboration and an integrated value proposition, when you look at yourself, you look at the company, you look at the stakeholders, you're arriving at marketing in a holistic framework. So if I were to talk about marketing excellence, and this is my last slide of the future, from a sales support directed, what it was till today, it will move to a value-based co-creation. Clearly, innovation, value innovation will call the shots. From a product marketing based, it will be customer based. 2 weeks ago, I was fortunate to attend a senior executives high profile dinner at the Hyatt in Bombay by the SAP group. All of you heard of SAP? SAP? SAP group. And the global head for IT delivery is Vinay Iyer. Vinay is a good friend of mine. He's of course done his MBA from Stanford. And Vinay was telling, and he has written this book, and I think I would urge you to buy this book, and you can note down the name. It's called The Customer Experience Edge. Vinay is the head of the global IT. It's called Customer Experience Edge, and I know he doesn't pay me any royalty for promoting books in management institutes like here, but I can tell you that's a fantastic book which talks about FMCG examples and what is value co-creation and how do you build a value proposition. So my dear friends, if you want to harness the power of communication, don't look at standard models. Look at social media. But as the earlier speaker also said, and I agree with him, social media has got limited impact. You've got to decide where you want to make it. Next, is get the message by building the communication, and general message will not work. Focused message to a select audience. How many okay, let me ask a very difficult question, or rather a sensitive question. How many women in this audience use Dove? Very nice. How many don't use Dove? Why don't you use Dove? Or let me put it this way, why do people use Dove? Don't tell me it's 1/4 moisturizing cream. I don't buy that. Okay? Why do the women use Dove? Softness, brightness. Yes, ma'am. It suits to the skin. Very good. The pH is suitable to the skin. So it's the softness, you feel brighter, you feel more enlightened. So fine. So that's why. So same way, my point is, you can't be the general soap like Godrej #1. Yeah, you've got to be specific. So Hindustan Lever Limited says Dove is meant for this section of the woman, that is the upwardly mobile, executive woman who values her time and she would like to look good. That's it. So my dear friends, this is something which I talked about, but this is a little bit heavy and I would not want to get too much into it. what we actually do and what will help you build your, your future. And I don't know how many, any pharmacists in this audience here? Any B Pharmacy? Oh, very good. Where are you from? Aurangabad, very good. Yes, who is from pharmacy here? Yes, ma'am. Which college? Sorry? Udaipur, very good. Okay. So I don't know what you want to do. You want to do finance, or you want to do marketing, or you want to do, HR. But one thing is very clear for pharma graduates, and if you want to make a career in pharmaceutical industry, you've got to do everything of this. You want to do account management, you want to do project management, and you want to do marketing. There is no HR. HR today is the most overworked department by me. I have good, healthy respect for HR professionals and the GM and the vice president who works with me, but I can tell you, when they design compensation and benefits program, talent management program, talent pipeline filling programs, boy, we get to see a lot of gaps, even after 20 years of experience. So master the groundwork very, very clearly. So at the end of my presentation, I thought, I know it's a very vast subject, but I thought I attempted to actually, give you an insight into what we actually do and what should be done by youngsters like you. My message at the end of it, and I hope I've stayed on time with just about 10 minutes to go, is this. First and foremost, my dear friends, is my message to you is very clear. Organizations respect youngsters who are very hardworking, sincere, and committed. That's clear. For me today, it's a hygiene factor. Hygiene factor means I expect people to be honest, I expect them to be hardworking, but when you set out your career like you, please ensure that you're hardworking, sincere, and committed, but at the same time, you're a smart worker. Second important point, my dear friend, as you start off your careers, please realize, as the earlier speaker said, the difference between knowledge and wisdom. But for me, it's paramount that I chase knowledge. Because when you build your knowledge, you build your fundamentals, for the first 5 to 10 years, obviously those fundamentals and core process will stand you for the next 20 years. A lot of youngsters work on my team, and I tell them, beta, and I tell them in Hindi, okay? सरस्वती के पीछे हमेशा भागना, क्योंकि लक्ष्मी जो है बड़ी चंचल औरत होती है. आज आपके पास होती है, कल इसी और के पास, लेकिन सरस्वती के पीछे भागे हुए तो लक्ष्मी अपने आप आ जाएगी. Right? So that's what. I have seen this work. I have seen this work. I'm giving you my life example. It's nothing great, but when I was with Merck, actually, one day my managing director, who was 56, told me that I'm promoting you to the level of the director at the age of 35. So he saw in me that probably I had that ability to drive, and that's very important. Because you run after knowledge, capital gains will obviously come, because when you become experienced, my dear friends, people will give you more money for the knowledge on their own, because they'll pay you for what is between your ears. Third important point, always be genuine, factual, and credible. Don't do window dressings. It doesn't work. Fourth important point, as seniors, we know you will make mistakes in your job, first job. We are tolerant to that. But learn from those mistakes. And more importantly, don't commit those same mistakes again. Agreed? 80% of people who are smart in this world are those who commit mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and resolve not to commit those mistakes. 10% are the smarter race. You know what are those? What are those? They see other people making mistakes and resolve not to make those mistakes. But what are the smartest race in this world? They anticipate the mistakes in advance and they never make those mistakes. That is the smartest race, and that's where you want to get on. So I've come to the end of my presentation. It has been and I thank everybody, including Colonel Bala, for giving me this opportunity. I feel really humbled to be here and share my thoughts with you. I hope it was of use and time for you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.